Good evening, everyone. So beautiful to be here with all of you tonight. Mm. Today we will read about joy and love. It feels very precious to get to be here with you in that subject, in those subjects, which are so important. Today I'm diving head in west. Joy. Joy is what elevates us into the best that life has to offer. Life is not meant to be easy. In fact, at times, life is meant to be difficult, and the very act of living and engaging in life comes with trials and tribulations that can pull us into the undercurrent of an ocean. But joy is what pulls us out of that depression or suffering and prevents us from getting swept out to the sea. We can start by finding our buoyant sense of joy with a buoy in an ocean. It doesn't matter if the sea is calm or raging, because the buoy's natural resting state is unsinkable. When we stop struggling, it's our natural state to float, both in the ocean and in life. A buoyant sense of joy may even save your life at those times when everything feels impossible. Living a joyful life. Finding what gives us joy may be as simple as making a list of the things that make us happy. Another list of what we do most every day, and then comparing the two lists and adjusting accordingly to bring in more of what gives joy and let go of what doesn't. We can also integrate joy into even the most mundane activities in our daily life. Finding joy is simple and it grows easier with practice. The underlying causes for our loss of joy, whether that loss is temporary or long term, are often our judgments and expectations about people or situations. A judgment refers to what we perceive to be true, and an expectation refers to our assumption of future results. When we prejudge something, we don't allow for the possibilities of anything else, and we block out any potential to find the interesting uh, idiosyncrasies or serendipity the universe has to offer us. There is joy in the mystery of the unknown, and when we have present expectations of how something needs to be, most often we are just setting ourselves up for disappointment. How can we predict what's going to happen in the future? Disappointment robs us of joy. So, releasing our expectations of how something needs to be or happen allows us to appreciate how the Creator offers up what we honestly need and not necessarily what we merely want. In most situations, our buoyant sense of joy won't be at risk. When we do things without the expectation of anything in return, The biggest thief of joy in our modern world is the epidemic of comparing ourselves to others, not only because it robs us of our joy, but also because we have absolutely no idea what someone else's personal journey is all about. When we desire the lives of others, we may energetically bring all their hard learned lessons over into our lives without getting any of the benefits that we think they have. As the saying goes, be careful what you wish for. The thing is, it's extremely likely that you have far more joy in your life than you realize. But you just can't get to it because it's been covered up by traumas that you've experienced. Healing these energetic traumas may reveal the joy that's been there all along. It's important to remember that all in depth healing cannot be truly complete until it's reconciled through spiritual connection. Otherwise, the trauma will continue to come up again and again, and may even show up in the physical world as a disease or psychiatric disorder. Healing comes from within us. Medicine people, doctors, and traditional practitioners can only help us redirect and focus our energy to facilitate our health and healing, and the buoyant sense of joy is the fulcrum for deep spiritual healing. Mm. North, love. What is love but the life force of all of life? Let's consider how dimly or brightly love shines through us in our personal life. What does it mean when we talk about love shining through us? It means that love is one of the four primal spiritual expressions of our spirit, because it's an accumulation of how we radiate joy, how we embody wisdom, and how we foster harmony in the various ways we show up in life. Love is expressed in how we show our love to others, how we let love in from others, and how we understand and spiritually process and work with love as it matures and evolves. The person you will spend the most time with in your life is you. And that's why it's of utmost importance that you learn to care for, accept, and love yourself first and foremost. It's much more difficult than it sounds, because we're often our own worst critic, bully, and abuser. If we want to be loved, both ourselves and others, we must make ourselves lovable, and we become lovable when we heal the parts of ourselves that we're ashamed of, or that we think we're embracing or unlovable, that we think are embarrassing, that made more sense, or unlovable. Essentially, we must learn to love the many things about ourselves that we think are unlovable, including our emotional weaknesses and physical imperfections, our torrid and shameful past, and our lack of self confidence and self worth. When we haven't healed and we don't love ourselves first, we abuse those we have we are supposed to protect, betraying that which we are supposed to defend. We damage those we are supposed to love, and we hurt those we are supposed to heal. Hurt people advertently hurt people. Through the indigenous ways of natural spirituality and walking the red road, we can find our way back to love through the healing of our invisible moral injuries and trauma. Spiritual practice, the reflection. This practice requires you to be vulnerable. It asks you to find all the love for yourself that you can. Stand naked in front of a mirror and look. Really see yourself. Notice that your mind does. You probably look at all that is negative about yourself, all that you don't like. This is what the modern world has uh, conditioned us to think about ourselves. We are trained to only see the worst, to judge and to compete. That is, what is that you see? Are you judging yourself for your weight, wrinkles, imperfect skin, or scars? Allow yourself to see all that you judge and view it as honestly as you can. Now force yourself to move to the positive. This won't be easy at first, as it is not what we are trained to do. Again, we have been conditioned to look only at the negative in ourselves. There are so many positives, and they far outnumber the negatives, but they can be hard to see. Perhaps you can look at your hands and notice that they are your father's hands, capable hands. Perhaps you can look at your wrinkles, wrinkles that you dislike, but can remember a beloved photograph of a grandmother whose wrinkles you love because of how beautifully worn she is in life. Can you find the evidence of your own wisdom and good life? Can you find smile lines and appreciate that a face without smile lines would in fact be tragic? Perhaps you can look at your strong legs and feet and remember how dependable they are, how far they have carried you and will continue to carry you. Eventually, this practice will make you feel empowered more than vulnerable. You will truly see yourself in the negative and the positive. You will find love for all of yourself. Mm. Mm. Beautiful. And tomorrow we will step into a new chapter, the threefold path. The seven sacred directions have taught us how to think indigenous, but how do we live indigenous? We have found three related pathways to living a modern life while also maintaining this nature-based spirituality. Mm. I'm very much looking forward to that. Mm. Thank you so much for tonight. Mm. Now we're leaving this day behind us and stepping into the night, the dream world. And I hope that it will give you everything that you need so we can see each other here tomorrow. All the love.